I've had this Hobbyking Sky Eye for a few years. I never did put it together, so I figured I would. And I wanted to fill it with foam because I saw a bunch of pictures of exploded fuselages. And I was like, no, that's going to be me, definitely. So here I start to get it ready to foam, and I'm not going to use the clear dome that came with it because that'll be the first thing that I smash. I'm going to make one out of foam, like I'm doing in this video. It wasn't too hard to do. It's pretty easy. I don't have any fun CNC devices or 3D printers. But I do have a bandsaw and a neat little sander that I like to use for stuff. Works pretty good. And I just fitting it in, making sure it's gonna work. And this is how I cheat on a lot of my projects. It's just a hook and loop disc mounted on a motor. Works great. You can do so much with it. I think it's called a French wheel, or it's similar to a French wheel. There's the finished nose cone. So I already like that better than the stock Sky Eye dome. Kind of looks like a bomb to me. I might paint it up like a Mario bomb. And if you look down the middle, there's two gaps that go clear to the tail. And I'm going to pull those servos out and leave string in there so that I can pull servo wire through because I'm going to move the servos to the back. I was also thinking about putting a spar down through that hole, but I didn't do it because I wasn't sure if it was going to end up being too heavy. So the tail will be the first thing that I smash. But I'm going to use that great stuff. Let's get it at the hardware store. And that's the paint they used on the canopy to prime it because I couldn't stand looking at it. That black dot, it looks like a tadpole to me or something. I hate the way it looks. I don't know why I bought it. It was on sale, I guess. Yeah, I'm going to stick the receiver in that side and pop a hole up through the wing for the antenna. All the FPV gear is going to go in the canopy, but there's an arrow I was shown where that spar might go. I had to pull these servo leads towards the tail before they would let go because they were glued in there. Those tubes were glued in fairly good, but after I pulled them from the tail, I was able to pull them straight out of here. And then without disconnecting them, I shoved it up through the little opening and pulled them out the side where the wings go through. Pretty long. I'm not really sure where I'm putting the ESC, but I'm trying to make this as simple as possible because I am gonna biff it on some landings and possibly the first couple takeoffs, and that's why I'm doing all this. This is a foam board tube. I'm using that tube to gain access to that rear section because after I foam it in, it'll be a pain in the ass. So just foam it in and I'll cut that tube right off. This tape works pretty good as a release. And this is how you shouldn't do it. I used way too much and I had a lot of trouble. It didn't cure the first time, possibly because it did get colder out in my workshop the night that I had done this, or the evening I'd done this. It got cold that night. And it left a big gooey mess, which you'll see here in a little bit. But basically, I should have just filled this bottom up like I'm doing. And then after the bottom and the corners were filled, I should have stopped. But I don't. I just keep going. See, I'm filling the nose area up now. I didn't show that I glued that nose cone on with white Gorilla Glue. Just the stuff that comes in a little container. I forget where I got it. But here I am doing what you shouldn't do. And I'm like, oh, let's fill this up. You need to fill this up. No, don't fill it up. And the first thing I should have done, I should have sprayed some water in there because that really helps this stuff cure. It's a lot like the Gorilla Glue. And I didn't know that at first. And I was just tired of waiting around trying to figure out how I was going to do it, so I just pulled the trigger and did it. And I know better than that. I know that I should have looked up some tricks for using this foam before I did it. But I don't know. Maybe I had some beers and that's why I was doing this. Yeah, just keep squirting it in there. Oh, God. I let it sit one whole night. But before that first night was over, I had cut some reliefs in it, thinking that would help with some pressure. I was still kind of concerned that maybe I'll come out in the morning and this thing will be like an exploded basketball. But it wasn't. It was fine. All the pressure pushes toward the opening. There's the cuts that I was trying to relieve some of the pressure. So I start cutting this thing apart, and it's okay at first. It's like, I hope it's like this all the way through. But it's not. And because of what I end up doing, there's kind of like two different textures. I did use two different cans, so the foam might have been different on the two cans too. I might have had a bunk first can. There's the gooey mess. And that was horrible. And it re-foamed up. After I'd cut that off, that was down in there, and it just foamed right back up. And then I cut it off again, I think, and stirred it up. And I let that sit for a whole day, and it hardened good. And then I didn't show it, but the next day I came in and I filled the gap up with a new can of foam. And it wasn't but a few hours, and I was able to shave it down with the razor. And it worked really good. The thing's really, really strong. You can squeeze it with your hands real good. So now that the front end is so beefy, it'll blow apart back there under the wing. The only thing that's going to be down in there, I think, is the battery. So I'm going to cut a battery hole and that's it.